Australia is one of the highest emitters of greenhouse gas per person in the world. Although this may seem like a daunting statistic, it also means that we have the greatest opportunity for change. The City of Sydney is committed to reducing its carbon footprint by 70% by 2030. Within the City of Sydney, 75% of residents live in apartment buildings. These buildings consume close to 40% of the city's water, 10% of its energy, and are responsible for creating around 50% of residential waste. With predictions that half the state's population will be living in apartment buildings by 2030, the City of Sydney has decided that it is time to create a framework for smarter and greener apartment living.
3 out of 4 residents living in the city live in apartments, and we want to work with those residents to help them reduce their energy and their costs. We are going to work with them to find out exactly what's happening in their buildings in terms of energy use and water use, and what practical steps they can take to make changes that will make their buildings greener and more efficient.
The key thing at this point in time is for buildings to understand as well as they can how their energy is being used and ways to shave any excess energy that they don't need.
We've started doing stuff that we get less than a 2-year payback period on, which means we're automatically saving money out of our admin fund, either to use for bigger stuff afterwards or at least to stave rising energy costs.
A lot of the energy consumed in the building, surprisingly, is not within apartments. It's in the common areas. So we're going to send a technical energy assessor out to the building to look at, well, where's the energy being used and what can we do to make it more efficient?
Our car park, for example, will cost maybe $5,000 to change all the lights. That initial investment of approximately $55 per unit will be paid back in less than 2 years.
To kickstart the program, we're working with 30 apartment buildings. For those 30 buildings, we will be offering sustainability assessments, on-site visits, support and case studies to help the Owners Corporation to work with the building manager and the strata manager to create a more sustainable building. By connecting residents and having more social interaction in buildings, it is easier to implement broader changes.
The biggest surprise that we've had is the take-up of the social networking site. We've got 60-odd members and we have about 28 members that use it daily. Once we approach those people at an AGM or an EGM and suggest ideas, you've started those conversations 3 months, 6 months before putting all the facts and figures in front of them at the AGM.
We also want to support buildings to look at what are the opportunities with so many people living in this one vertical village. How can we share resources and reduce consumption in the first place?
More people are living in high density residential areas. There's going to be a proliferation, I see, of green roofs. There's going to be more local energy supply. We've already seen Sydney's first wind turbine installed on a residential tower in the city. I think we're going to see a lot more of those.
The potential for drawing those environmental benefits and social benefits together and really building community, I think, is probably one of the things which, as a designer, you most focus on is how people relate to each other, and as a landscape architect, how they do that in the urban environment.
One of the initiatives we have had is to convert a large space of garden bed that we have up on the roof level into a community garden. People within the building will be able to grow their own lettuces, herbs, whatever they feel they want to grow within that space.
One barrier we see all the time with buildings at the moment is a lack of understanding of, well, what should we do first? There are so many things we need to do with this building. We don't know where to start, and we also don't know what it's going to cost. So what we're trying to show them is, well, by spending small amounts of money early on, you can save much larger amounts of money later on as energy and water prices continue to rise.
So at the end of the day, what we're hoping is that City of Sydney's initiative will be able to assist us in greening our apartment, or at least understanding and learning how we can green our apartment. At the same time, they'll be able to provide assistance to make our building more of a social place and belong to a community rather than just a physical address.
Our 5-year program is really aiming to work with over 700 apartment buildings that we have within the City of Sydney. So we're inviting buildings to come forward and let us know that they're interested in working with us to create a sustainable Sydney 2030.